Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Marie Rivera, and this is the 36th Legislative District. We are proud to have Nilu Jenks, candidate for City Council Position 5. Nilu, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Nilu Jenks, and I'm running for Seattle City Council District 5. I love Seattle, our neighborhoods, our people, and our values, but right now life is getting harder. Rent keeps rising, food costs more, and in too many neighborhoods like mine in Lake City, families are losing access to basic needs like grocery stores and pharmacies. This isn't because our neighbors have failed each other, it's because our systems haven't kept up and City Hall hasn't moved with the urgency this moment requires. Our country is in crisis. Progressive cities must show they can deliver and meet the needs of people, and that is why I'm running. I'm the proud daughter of Iranian immigrants, a working mom of two teenagers, and a longtime community advocate. I believe no one in Seattle should struggle to afford food, medicine, childcare, or a place to live. As your council member, here's what I will work on. First, housing people can actually afford. District 5 should commit to building 1,000 units of affordable housing. And if every council member did the same, we'd meet the scale of this crisis. Second, ending food deserts. The Lake City Fred Meyer closing has forced my neighbors to travel farther for groceries and prescriptions to more expensive neighborhoods. I've testified in Olympia on this issue, and as a council member, I'll push for local action so no neighborhood is left behind. Third, building a child and senior friendly city, a city where kids can walk safely, breathe clean air, and feel like they belong, and where seniors can age with dignity and independence. And fourth, strengthening a democracy people can trust. Seattle voters approved ranked choice voting, and it is being implemented for our 2027 primaries. As political director for Fairfield, Washington, I've worked on election reform for years, and I'll help ensure it's implemented well so voters understand the ballot and trust the results. At the end of the day, I'm working toward a city that works for all of us, one that's affordable, fair, and accountable to the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilu. I believe Anita has our first question.
Hi. On economic growth and prosperity, how do you balance supporting large employers with investing in small businesses and local entrepreneurs? And/or what role should the city play in supporting workers, not just businesses, in a growing economy?
Thank you. Economic growth has to actually work for the people who live here. Right now in District 5, it doesn't feel that way. We've seen what happens when the balance is off. When our local Fred Meyer closed, we didn't just lose a store. We lost jobs, we lost our last pharmacy, and an elder neighbor told me we lost one of our last copy printing machines that she relied on. That's a failure of how we think of economic development. So for me, this isn't about choosing between large employers and small businesses. We need both. Large employers bring jobs and revenue, but small businesses and local entrepreneurs are what makes neighborhoods livable. They're where money circulates locally, where people build roots, and where communities actually function day to day. A local coffee shop told me when T-Mobile, FedEx, and Fred Meyer's closed in close succession, they lost so much of their customer base too. So the city's role is to set the conditions so both large and small businesses can succeed while making sure workers aren't left behind. And that starts with basics: faster, more predictable permitting for small businesses, especially neighborhood serving ones like groceries and childcare. It means using zoning and city tools so actively fill gaps in places like Lake City and not just hoping the market fixes it. And it means being willing to push back when large corporations make decisions that abandon communities. But just as important, we have to center workers. Economic growth doesn't mean much if people can't afford to live where they are and also access basic services. So the city should be supporting workers directly. That means protecting labor standards with unions for housing and live near their jobs and also see their friends. It means treating access to food, childcare, and healthcare as essential infrastructures and not luxuries or places you go to in other neighborhoods. If we get that succeed because workers and families are stable and neighborhoods like mine are no longer left behind, that's the kind of growth I'm focused on. Thank you.
Thank you. Nilu, was everyone having a little bit of trouble off and on hearing in that?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's definitely Nilu's
Nilu, do you
bandwidth.
want to try doing the next one without your
Oh,
camera on to
mhm.
see if that improves your audio?
Yes. Well, let me
Okay.
find where you guys went. Sorry, it's not my
No, it's okay. I know we're all
It's not
balancing
my
things, and
internet. I can see the bandwidth went down. Okay. Thank you
okay.
for letting me know. Is that better?
Well, I can hear you now. We could hear you for
That's
perfect chunks in there, but then there was a couple of really pixelated spots. And so, of course,
oh
we would love
man.
to see you, but I would
Okay.
also like everyone to hear from you. Is that sound
Yeah,
good?
I want to be heard. Thank you.
Okay,
Of,
okay.
of
So
course. I'm sorry. I-
we'll move on. No, we totally understand. The second question is about housing affordability. It continues to be a challenge and a priority. The unfunded mandatory housing affordability program seems to have failed to deliver on the intended result. Gentrification and displacement continue, while at the same time, new housing prospects are stalling. So, what role can you play in affordable housing? And considering the recent audit and current state of King County Regional Homeless Authority and the impact it has on Seattle's unhoused population, what do you think should be done?
Thank you. Well, housing affordability is the defining issue for Seattle right now. And we have to be honest that what we're doing isn't delivering at the scale or the speed that people need. The MHA was a step in the right direction, but it hasn't been enough, and too many simply paid a fee without building the affordable housing that people absolutely desire. That was the goal. We're still seeing displacement, and we're not building enough housing. So the answer is to walk away from it. It's to strengthen our approach and be much more focused on outcomes. My role on council would be to push for three things. First, we need to build a lot more housing of all types: social housing, affordable housing, market rate housing, cottage housing, or stack flats like I lived in growing up. That means implementing zoning changes fully and making sure projects actually get built. Right now, permitting delays and uncertainty are stalling housing we already approved on paper. Second, we need to be more intentional about affordability. That means strengthening tools like MHA, but also directly investing in affordable housing projects and social housing, especially near transit and in neighborhoods at risk of displacement. And it means looking at how we can partner with community organizations to keep people in their homes, also making sure we're building homes with accessibility for people, all people in mind, people who use wheelchairs. Third, we have to connect housing to the basics people need to live. In my neighborhood, we've become a grocery and pharmacy desert. So building housing without access to food, healthcare, and transit isn't creating real stability. We need to plan for complete communities. And finally, on homelessness and KCRHA, the biggest issue right now is accountability and results. We're spending significant public dollars and people are not seeing the outcomes they expect. And we're seeing this in the audit. And certainly people expect a large public institution to be able to manage their internal accounting and approval and documentation processes. We need clear financial oversight. I continue to believe we need strong coordination between the city and county, but it has to be a system that delivers. We need clear performance metrics and a focus on what actually works, getting people inside quickly and stabilizing them with services. And we must continue to expand shelter and housing options that people meet people where they are, while also investing in long-term supportive housing. I'll stop because I ran out of time.
Thank you, Nilu. We have Howard with our third question.
Hi. As regards public safety, what specific measures would you pursue to increase and ensure police accountability from both a conduct and fiscal perspective? What would you use as measures of success in improving accountability and impact on public safety?
Thank you. Well, public safety and accountability have to work together. And right now, we're not fully delivering on either. One of the clearest things Seattle residents have said is that they want alternatives to a police only response. And that's why I want to work with Protect 17 to strengthen and expand the care team. And I think we need to take a hard look at how that program has been structured. My understanding is that SPOG negotiated elements of that contract without Protect 17 there. And I want to explore whether Protect 17 has the ability to revisit or change those terms. Because right now, care is more than what voters were asking for. That undermines the whole purpose of an alternative response. Behavioral health response system that can actually respond, not one that's constrained in ways that push situations back onto police. Expand care and behavior response teams is essential, not just for better outcomes, but also for accountability. When we send the wrong response, we increase the risk of escalation. When we send the right response, we resolve issues more effectively and reduce repeat calls. This also directly improves police performance, are currently handling calls that should never have been put on their plate. If we take those off, we can improve 911 response times for serious incidents and allow officers to focus on what they're trained to do. I observed 911 calls last week, and not a single one was sent to the care team for a variety of reasons. We can do better than that. On accountability, more broadly, we need faster and more transparent oversight. Investigations shouldn't take years. Data on use of force and complaints and outcomes should be clear and accessible. And from a fiscal perspective, we need to tie investment to results and be willing to shift resources if something isn't working. We also need to invest more in diversion programs that address root causes, including behavioral health and substance use, so we reduce repeat interactions and build real safety over time. Success should look like faster response times, fewer use of force incidents, fewer repeat crisis calls, and stronger public trust. At the end of the day, accountability means building a system where every response is the right response and where people actually feel safe calling for help either for themselves or for their neighbors.
Thank you. And our sound has improved marketably. And if we want to try turning the video on, maybe for the follow-ups or for your closing, we can try that, but at least we can hear you at this point. Ricky,
do you want me to turn it on and try for this last question?
If you're feeling lucky, go for it.
I just feel bad. I feel weird.
Well, you know what? I'll pop in and let you know if it's bad. So
please,
just
thank you.
Assume it's good, and we'll hope for the best. Ricky has the last question for you, the last prepared one.
Hi, so this question is regarding general priorities, which you've spoken a bit about already, but what are the top priorities you are hearing from District 5 constituents? And it follows, what specific ways will you make accessible and communicate your work and progress on their behalf and seek out feedback from all District 5 residents?
Thank you. So the priorities I'm hearing are consistent and they're very practical. People are worried about affordability, especially housing and rising property taxes. They want to be able to stay in their homes and build a future here. That's part of why I'm interested in tools like the Vibrant Cities Act to give cities more options to manage costs and reduce pressure on property taxes through a building tax credit, similar to a land value tax. They want basic infrastructure that actually works. That means sidewalks in neighborhoods that still don't have them, and better east-west transit so people can reliably get around to school, work, and get things like haircuts that don't have to happen downtown. We deserve a transit system that isn't just a corridor north and south. They want access to daily needs like groceries and prescriptions, affordable childcare, walkable coffee shops, and third places, and they want to feel like their local small businesses are thriving and also affordable. They want public safety that works, including real shelter options for people who are unhoused. So we're addressing the issue in a humane and effective way. And increasingly, people are worried about what's happening at the federal level. That's part of why my background working on democracy matters. Local government has a role to play in building trust and stability when people feel uncertainty elsewhere. In terms of how I will show up, I want to run a very accessible and responsive office. I'll hold regular in-district office hours, rotating across our neighborhoods, and I'll make sure there are evening and weekend options available every single month so people who are working can actually reach me and find me in district. I also want to create drop-in hours for city staff, so we're breaking down silos and solving problems more quickly. And you'll see clear, consistent communication about what I'm working on and what progress is being made through newsletters and updates that are easy to understand. And just as important, will be responsive to what people send. When someone reaches out, they should hear back. When there's a problem, they should know who's working on it. And if I don't know, I should find the person who can do it. Because representation isn't just about policy, it's about people feeling heard and whether government is accessible, whether they understand the experiences they're having, and whether our government is actually delivering in their daily lives. I think people really need to see and feel right now that they can have trust in institutions and in their elected officials, and that we care about them and mean what we're saying every day. That is really, especially as on the doors, people are increasingly asking what's the point. It's part of the reason why I work on democracy and voting rights. We need people to believe that their government is there to serve them and not just to do whatever we want.
Thank you. And I think the sound and video worked out pretty well on that one. And if you want to continue trying, I think that's great. We have a little time for some follow-up questions, and
Sure.
I will let some others start that off. Howard?
I think we have a lot of time. Um, I appreciate your answer on care and your detailed knowledge. What you didn't answer is accountability. And so, very specifically, 2025 has been a horrible year. It's one of the worst years for police, killing people. We again had three people in mental health crisis killed, one person with only a knife. We've had brutal responses to protests, outrageous behavior by the police. We saw brutal responses just last weekend by police. So my question is two parts. What would you do to actually change that? And are you willing to advocate for direct community control and abandoning the system that we have in place that has not worked for 9 years? Thanks.
Yeah, I think the knee tactical. Can you hear me? Okay, because you were breaking up for me, and I don't know whether it's me or it's you.
It's kind of medium. And you're frozen for a sec there. Do you want to try without video again?
Yeah, you might want to turn off your video because you are
Sorry,
frozen.
Nilu.
Okay, no problem, because I'm also having a hard time hearing, but I think I caught the gist of what you were saying. So we had the police use that knee, response that they used in with George Floyd years ago. Like those are things that an officer that's using that cannot stay on the force. And yet committed to overhauling. I think for me, the issue is that now we've had this signed SPOG contract, which is part of the reason why I want to get into that contract through Project 17 and making sure that we can
I'm sorry, you're breaking up.
whose rights were violated. Oh, okay. It's at full bandwidth for me right now. It shows. Is everybody
mine
struggling?
is showing too, but it is still cutting in and out, and we understand that you have no control over that. So just go ahead and finish as best you can.
I'm like, do I go to another? There's no other room. So, just saying that we is hostile to people and referencing not being able to respond to their needs and making sure that we're having conversations that include a public oversight committee. I am committed to that. And also making sure that, if you've gone to January 6th, or if you're collaborating with ICE, or if you're using like illegal tactics, like putting knees on someone's neck, that you are held accountable and not working anymore in that system. I am deeply opposed to a lot of the things that we're seeing and have a lot of concerns with what we've seen. I think a public oversight committee is the main thing. I don't know how much you're hearing. I can't see myself.
We heard most of it there at the end. And
okay, good.
Thank you. And please be patient with us, and we will be patient as yours comes in and out. And if nobody else has a hand, I have several follow-ups. Oh, sorry. All right. Howard gets another one first.
No, I just wanted to do a follow-up. So again, I want to be clear. The system that we have stands apart from every other system that other major cities have tried post George Floyd. So we don't need an oversight committee. We actually need a citizens like they have in Newark or they have in Nashville. We need citizens oversight to do investigations and to actually determine discipline. So that's what I'm asking. Will you support?
Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry, by a public oversight committee. Yeah.
Thank you. You had mentioned childcare in a couple scenarios as you were talking, and I'm wondering, we've been seeing some new things happening throughout the country, and maybe there is some support coming. What can you see our city council doing to support childcare in our region?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we just saw happen is the preschool co-op system just got defunded kind of by accident. I wish the city would have stepped in, and not say that we have to raise $2 million by May 14th to rescue a system that I personally relied on, and that is a workforce system. My one of my dear friends that I did the class with, I invited her, went on to become a teacher in that system and is now a special education teacher at Seattle Public Schools. So supporting systems that we already have. One of the things I'm interested in, I mentioned the building tax credit, is seeing if we can have something more like community credits. I'm talking some of the next few weeks to give incentives for building or tax deductions or tax exemptions for things like preschools, because it's very expensive to set those up, and making sure that we are supporting people working in that space so they can stay and become really good experts in childcare, and working with our community centers too, because it doesn't start just with early childhood. There's a lot of afternoon, like, middle school kids are going to community centers and don't have the programming they need for teens. Older
Thank
middle
you.
schoolers, I should say. I do know how old middle schoolers are. So,
Thank you. And I think one more. Can you tell me something that has surprised you about the city council role, or something that other people may not know about city council,
mm,
or something you find particularly interesting or are looking forward to in the job?
yeah. I am very excited about Seattle City Light. We own our own, it's very rare for a city to own its own utility in that way. And I'm very curious about on-bill financing and other, programs around heat pumps to bring rent stability like Tacoma has done, but really working on, there was a great article around how we could use and leverage our utility to bring affordability to the city and also be a climate leader. I think Seattle is uniquely positioned in that way. And it's something that I'm really excited to work on.
Thank you. Howard, I think we have to have her give her closing now so we can keep it fair to the other candidates. But Nilu, would you like 90 seconds to close?
Yes. Do you want to try my camera again, or are
Yeah,
we?
give it a try and be ready for us to hop in and say sorry.
Thank you. Um, Rattling me a bit. Okay. So, timer. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm running because I believe Seattle residents deserve a city they can afford, that they feel is responsible with their hard earned money, and that is accountable to them and not to corporate America. I come to this campaign bringing experience helping pass legislation in Olympia, and I'm ready to get to work here in Seattle on day one and to run again next year to keep building on that progress. I'm also proud of the coalition behind this campaign. People already doing this legislative work have endorsed me because they have seen my commitment to hard work and to building community and getting results. I have the support of Senator Noel Frame and both Representatives Liz Berry and Julie Reid, as well as Representatives Daria Fariva, Brianna Thomas, and others. I'm endorsed by Seattle School Board members Vivian Song and Liza Rankin, housing advocate Tiffany McCoy, Seattle Council President Joy Hollingsworth, and Councilmember Alexis Mercedes Rink. I'm honored to be the first labor endorsed candidate in this race with support from UAW Regional 6, Local 4121, as well as the Working Families Party. And this campaign is powered by people. I was on the steering committee to renew the Democracy Voucher Levy, and this campaign is largely funded by it, with nearly half of the vouchers submitted this election being sent our way. This campaign is one that is rooted in community. At the end of the day, I'm focused on results, making Seattle more affordable and a place where people can build deep roots and long-lasting relationships with our neighbors. I would be honored to earn your support and build community together. You can learn more at neighborsfornilu.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Nilu. The only part that cut out at the end was your neighborsfornilu.com. Is that the correct website?
Yes, that's right. I mean, who needs to know that?
Yeah, I don't know.
The
But
internet's against me today. So,
no,
thank
I
you.
think I think you've given us plenty of information and we can figure it out. Thank you so much for joining us here in the 36th today. Nilu Jenks for City Council, position 5.
Thank you.